Pleasure to introduce your guest speaker for the evening, Professor Paul Nehru Tennassee. Professor Tennassee is a bilingual historian and political scientist at the University of the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., where he focuses on international relations and the impact of global issues on local affairs, otherwise known as local affairs. His enviable academic qualifications, which are truly international in character, include a Master of Arts in Government from Johns Hopkins University, a Master of Science in History from the University Central de Venezuela, a special diploma in Social Studies from Oxford University, England, and a Bachelor of Arts from York University, Canada. Professor Tennassee was formerly the director of the World Conference of Labour Liaison Office at the United Nations. In this capacity, he lobbied policymakers such as the World Bank and International Monetary Fund to design and implement social economic policies that promote sustainable development. His research projects include the railroad in Canada for the Ontario Ministry of Labour and the causes of poverty in Guyana, recommendations on a strategy in 2005. He has lectured at the University Central de Venezuela and York University. Professor Tennassee has also published extensively. His publications include 2 books, 18 monographs, and 60 articles. Of note, one of these articles is entitled Guyana, Continental Destiny, a Vision to be Embraced and Transformed. He had also been actively engaged in the struggle for political freedom and human rights in Guyana. He led the Democratic Labour Movement and co-led the Patriotic Coalition for Democracy in Guyana that worked assiduously with the Jimmy Carter Center to bring about free and fair elections in 1992. Professor Tennassee is a man of many interests and is currently the producer-host of the Carib Nation TV program that started in 1998. Professor Tennassee has also received many awards, too numerous to mention. However, I must mention at least one. He is the recipient of the Man of All Seasons Award from the Department of Urban Affairs at the University of the District of Columbia. This award is given for outstanding inter-faculty scholarship. Professor Tennassee is therefore more than eminently qualified to speak on the immigration of East Indians. I now present to you one of our illustrious sons from Guyana and the Indian diaspora, Professor Paul Nehru Tennassee.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Brother Say. In 1838, on a day like today, 174 years ago, a group of people of Indian origin stepped off a ship onto a land space called Demerara in South America. They were taken there as indentured laborers. May I take this opportunity to salute all those within and outside Guyana who have consistently, year by year, ensured we remember that day, May 5th, 1838. Equally, we should also remember and particularly celebrate April 15, 1970. That was the day that 79 years of legal indentureship ended and our ancestry became part of the legally free labor market of the then British Guiana. 49 years later, in 1966, our ancestry, together with Amerindio, Iberio, Sino, and Afro-Guyanese, created a brand new nation state named Guyana in the heart of the Americas. 46 years since political independence, together with 5 other ethnic groups, we endured, resisted, and successfully fought a political dictatorship and won and ushered a political system based on verifiable, free, and fair elections. We successfully escaped the ethnic and religious wars of Asia, Africa, and Europe. We avoided the tragedies of the Diamond States. What an accomplishment! What a legacy! And so, my sisters and brothers of Guyana, who are here in the United States of America, if and when your children ask you, what is your legacy? Simply say to them, Guyana, Guyana, Guyana. When our ancestry left India, why did they leave? Escape from hopelessness and the promise of a better land. My own grandparents, and I have a diary that was left by one of my, we say, the brother of my party. And they left Nehru Plantation in April 1990 and went all the way to the Quarantine and dug a village called Wim from out of the waterside. And I'm sure that many of your ancestors have done the same on the coastlands of Guyana. But they left India because of a dream, because of the promise of a better life. The same reason why many of us today and many people escape from the hopelessness at one point in Guyana to come for a better life and the promise of jobs, good and better jobs, and education for our children. But we, our children and grandchildren, also want to have a voice and a seat at the table of governance and development in the United States of America. But how will we be able to do this? From where will we learn and draw our lessons in order that we can be equipped, in order that we can do it here in the United States? I say to you that the best place to learn is from the lessons of 174 years of our ancestry, we ourselves, our parents and grandparents, who lived in Guyana from the days of indentureship to now. What did they do in Guyana? They organized themselves. They fought for their rights, for their human rights, for living wages. They built trade unions. They built political parties. They organized and were vibrant in local government. They love education. They educated their children. They encouraged them to go abroad and study. And they built alliances across cultures. Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, with other ethnic groups. They worked, they saved, and they invested. At one point in the 1970s, the Indo-Guyanese, compared with minorities all across the world, had a higher per capita rate of saving, which is very important for investment. During the indentureship, our ancestors saved £1 million by the end of indentureship. £1 million. And they only work for 24 cents a day. That's why perhaps people stereotype that they're misers. But that is not true. People have the right to save their money. They work. And those who have migrated here, like many of us here, we have contributed to Guyana with remittances. Money that we work very hard for here, we send back home and help those who are there. And this has made a tremendous contribution to Ghana. And many Guyanese abroad, in the hard days of the dictatorship, supported free and fair elections. I organized a group in Canada, Guyanese Research and Representation Services, in Washington, here in Toronto, here in New York, and they supported, fully supported, the struggle for free and fair elections. And then when I went back to work at the University in Guyana, in 6 weeks, they fired me. They gave me a ticket and said, go back to Canada. I took the ticket, the money that they gave me for 6 months' salary, and I opened my office in Regent Street. Launched an organization called the Right to Work Association, Front for Democratic Unity. In those days, 82 products were banned. We couldn't get roti, we couldn't get sari, we couldn't get basic foods. And we had a big sign. Jobs gone, roti gone, everything gone. And I went village to village, plantation to plantation, and began to organize and fight and fight. When I went back to Guyana, our country was trapped in no way of getting free and fair elections, because the leadership then were caught between fighting for capitalism or socialism. When I went there, I said, no, this is not what this is about. This is about dictatorship versus democracy. Forget all that fight about capitalism versus socialism. And I explained to them, it was like if the devil took over Guyana, and they say the Hindus cannot go to the temple, the Muslims cannot go to the mosque, and the Christians cannot go to the church. The devil decreed that cannot happen. What will you do? The Muslims, the Christians, and the Hindus have to come together in a united front and fight the devil, nullify the decree, and then the Hindu could go back to the temple, the Muslim to the mosque, and the Christian to the church. And that is what we did when we got the Patriotic Coalition for Democracy to work for over a decade. I was kidnapped. Many of the young people were terrorized, imprisoned, beaten, all sorts of things we went through. And I always remember there was an Indian diplomat in Guyana. He was from Madagascar. And there they cook roti. And then we never used to get roti in those days because flour was bad. And he would open his door at 2 a.m. in the morning. And 15 and 20 of us would go and wake up to cook and give us roti until 6 o'clock in the morning to record. And he used to keep our documents. So that link with India, I went to campaign, I went to Mauritius, went to all where there were governments that would be sympathetic. But we were able to get support in Latin America, in Belgium, in Holland, in Germany, in the United States. The Canadian Parliament supported us in a great campaign we launched for free and fair elections in Guyana. It was a tough fight, but we were able to achieve it. So those are the kind of lessons that we have to learn here in the United States, and we have to draw from. As we try to struggle to find a voice, we in Guyana, after 174 years of sweat, blood, and struggle, were not only able to get a voice, but we have a seat now at the table in governance and development in Guyana. We did it here, we can do it. We did it there, we can do it here. But we have to learn the lessons from our ancestors. What do we bring to America? We bring assets. Our cross-cultural knowledge and experience in working with other ethnic and religious groups. I give you an example. The son of a young Guyanese went to the war in Iraq. And I met him once at the party, and he said to me, when he was in Iraq, he was shocked to see how young Americans stereotype and view Muslims in Iraq. He said he couldn't understand. He was taken aback. That was a disadvantage for the Americans. But the young Guyanese, how did we grow up? We overcame the problem. A Muslim could marry a Hindu could marry a Muslim. You know, I'm a Catholic. But I know everything about Hinduism as much as I know of Islam. And on Ramadan, I have a day at home where I go to celebrate. And even though I'm a Catholic, I do all the things that Hindus do. So that is how we grew up. Today in the world, That is called cross-cultural knowledge. That is very important to succeed in America and around the world. We bring that to these shows. And so, I say to you today that education, it's not enough for us to just see our children through colleges. It's not enough. We also have to help them to open doors for them in America, because it's about networking. I work with young people all the time in Washington, D.C. They come from the University of California, all across America. They come to Washington to have their Washington experience. They try to network to get jobs. So one of the great things that we can do is to network. It is very simple. Each and every one of us can help. I can remember when I was working previously, before the university I went there, I represented the World Confederation of Labor, the United Nations, and Disability IMF for the World Bank. But all the way from Washington, I used to call New York and give my tickets to traveling all around the world to Guyanese. To Guyanese. So that is the way we have to help each other. It is simple. But imagine if 10 of us across America who are working internationally can give the tickets to Guyanese. That could be transferable to other professions and other things we do in business and otherwise. So I'm saying to you all that the problems in Washington around the White House is as bad as the problems and challenges we face in Africa, in Latin America, in Guyana, in India or China. Around the White House there's drugs, there's problems of education, there's problems of AIDS, there are problems of joblessness, there are problems of families, all kinds of problems. Here in New York, I'm sure these are the similar problems that are here. So if we can find solutions where we are for these problems, then they could be solutions that could be transferred to Guyana and other parts of the world. Here in New York, many of you live in a very important city. You live in a place that in recent times had a great impact on the world. You know what happened with the Twin Towers and the development of terrorism and counter-terrorism. Here in New York, you have witnessed the financial crisis in 2007, where because of pyramid schemes developed by the rich in this country, the bankers and others, that they created a disaster in the world and have plunged the world into great recession and to joblessness all across Europe, all across the world. So my brothers and sisters, I say to you, know your jungle. Know your jungle. Study the country in which you're in. Help your children to network. And let your slogan be network, network, network. May I wish each and every one of you the best as you continue to stay the course, to build your lives in the United States of America. And may I wish GOPIO to continue advancing the interests of each and every one of us. Thank you.